should be live, hopefully. Let's see. Right, I believe we are live. Good evening, everyone. Hey, Craig. Hey, Greg. Hey, Dana. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Andy. So a few more people come in. Hey, Sharon. Hey, Aaron. There's a bunch of people coming in chat, which is fantastic. Sorry there wasn't a live stream last Monday. I was absolutely shattered after the Taunton show, and drove back on Monday. I was on. There was no way I could do one last week. So, Ed Eric. So, okay, but this evening we are joined by Naomi of Animal Teach. And so you have muted yourself.
I have. I've just realised.
Right. Now, probably, I'm going to guess most people in chat probably don't know who you are. So, do you want to give yourself a bit of an introduction to who you are and what Animal Teach is?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I can see some hellos coming in, so hello to you all. My name's Naomi, like it says, and I run my own business called Animal Teach. It pretty much says it on the tin, so I teach people about animals. But prior to this, I qualified in zoology and become a zookeeper. And from that, I then taught in a land-based college and become a qualified teacher. So my biggest passions are animals and education, and that's what I base my lovely business around, about taking lots of different animals out, but specifically the reptiles and inverts, to teach the local community about them and how incredible they are, which links into the name of your YouTube thing. I've just realised, incredible. So yeah, so that is what I do. There's lots of enclosures behind me, Derek.
It's nice enclosure you have.
Yeah, it didn't start off like this. So when I started my business, I started off with 7 animals. It was quite small to fit in around my family, and now I'm on 43 different species. So they live in the house. There's quite a lot.
Hey, Rosanna. Hey, Mark and Victoria. So that's cool. So you started off studying zoology and became a zookeeper. What sort of animals were you working with at the zoo? Was it sort of reptiles, or was it kind of everything, or not reptiles at all?
It was a mix, but my favourite were the reptiles. So I was a walk-around keeper, and the safari I worked in, I was predominantly in the bug house. It's not there anymore, unfortunately. So we had a Moralettes crocodile, Madagascar tree boas, panther chameleons. You can see how excited I get just talking about them. But on the same section, as well as all of the reptiles and invertebrates and amphibians, I worked with the Egyptian fruit bats. Some days I could be with European moose or the giraffe, Sitatunga, red river hog. Oh my goodness, what else was there? Elephants every now and again. There was a mix from the smallest to the tallest. But if I could be in that bug house, I was in my element. If I could be with the weird animals and the different animals, then I was very, very happy.
So most of us, especially everyone in chat, and the chance for now you're a northern girl. Sharon's up in Manchester.
Oh, look, do you know what? Quite a few people have asked me what my accent is this week, and I don't know. I'm from Runcorn, and someone said to me the other day, "Oh, you're from Manchester." I was like, "No, I'm from Runcorn." So I don't know where it's come from. I think it's just an accumulation of everyone I meet put into one.
Hey, Susan. Hey, Anton. Anton's coming with the Keep Any GTPs. Anton breeds green tree pythons.
Oh no! So I haven't got them, but I'd love to. So there's so many species on the I'd like or I'd want list. But at the minute, I have a lot of the species I keep are very much for the public, so public to enjoy them. I'm very strict on my handling protocols and policies, but I try and look or like after animals that or rescue them that are quite handleable. in a social setting. So yeah, so unfortunately no GTPS and no green tree python. But in the future, who knows? In the future it could change.
So, is that how long did you work in the zoo setting then before moving to teaching?
So with volunteering, I was lucky in my final year of university. I did my dissertation there, and I began volunteering, and then a job come up, and I finished my exams on the Friday, and I was there working full time on the Monday, before I'd even graduated. So it was brilliant, and I was there about 4 years, and it was fantastic. I also realised, which you can probably tell from this, I like talking to people about animals. So a job come up in a local land-based college teaching animal studies, and I went for it and moved my way up from instructor to practical lecturer. And I just absolutely adored like just teaching everyone about them and getting excited. But it was about 4 years in both, and then I set up my business.
No, that's awesome. And so so you went on to then teach at a land-based college. So obviously, I've never done that. I've only ever worked sort of in the zoo setting, and I imagine, although in some ways similar, but probably quite different as well.
Yeah.
Dealing with students and dealing with animals and students probably a lot different than even dealing with students in the zoo. I'm guessing.
It could be, yeah. I mean, some days were harder than others. I taught mostly teenagers or 16 plus, really, all the way up to, well, it was any age. We took on mature students as well as younger students. And there were some students which could be a little bit more difficult, and there were some students that weren't as difficult. But for me, it didn't matter which type of student I was working with. They just made the most out of what they were able to do. We had a whole section of animals where I worked. So there were the reptile rooms, the aquarium, we had the paddock, the warren, small mammals, aviaries, birds, the kennels. There was so many different elements of what they could really put their passion in for, that if they didn't like a certain thing, you sort of encouraged a passion in what they did enjoy. But yeah, teaching, I won't lie, it's hard. It's hard. But yeah.
So I'll just work with the animals and do a few talks. It was good. Yeah, sometimes. Yes, Chance. Well, yeah, she wished there was an opportunity when she was younger to get into zoo with family members. There was no qualification then, and now she's old. Not that old.
Yeah, that's one thing that's a shame, really. That the majority of places, and it's understandable the reasons why to have the qualifications and and that sort of thing, but it does sort of limit who can get into the zoo world sometimes. And which I was lucky enough that volunteers were taken on where I went to at that time, and a year later that stopped. And at that point, it would have been even more difficult to get where I wanted to be. So yeah, I can totally understand. But you're never too old. No.
No, never. I mean, we have volunteer. One of our volunteers here. He's got to be in his 60s, I think. But he comes in one day a week. He's absolutely awesome. So, comes in one day a week. He always jokes that he gives him a break from his wife, kind of thing. So, but never sure that to do something. We have people, people from their 50s upwards that will come and volunteer, as well as university students and college students and stuff. That will come to us. But it is definitely it's something that every so often people try and look at, because it is quite a privileged job to get into, in terms of, as my routine was volunteering, and something it meant my parents driving me to and from zoos early in the morning, and sometimes late evenings or whatever, to do that for a couple of years. As well as obviously paying for your college fees and all this and the other, so a lot of money initially, which is we do see it as is being seen as a bit of an issue. but
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's really come up with a good way of not doing that, because we do like long-term placements, but that's then students taking a year out of university to just do voluntary work for a year.
Yeah.
The thing, and it's all like, can you afford to do that? That's normally bank of mum and dad that pay them for your rent for a year or whatever.
Yeah.
And transport costs, it's a lot of money.
It can be hard. When I speak with a lot of people, and quite often say, if you work with animals, you're not in it for the money, because it is a lot of passion. And I mean, my first role working with animals was unpaid. It was work experience at college.
Yep.
You know, and it was brilliant. The pet shop I went in was family run, and I got to work with so many amazing animals. And got to do all sorts, but it was unpaid work, and you sort of took the experience over the being paid side. And then the same even going into the zoo worlds, like you say, there's so many like volunteer opportunities in certain zoos and safaris or wildlife parks, or even like the local botanical gardens that have birds and aviaries. But then it's when them jobs come up, just grasp them, because they don't happen too often. And if your name's out there, then get it out there in a positive way, because just take advantage of what comes up.
Yeah, it is. Anyone that's wanting to get into the zoo industry, I mean, you open up a zookeeper job and you'll get 500 applicants.
Yeah.
Easily. sort of thing. And no matter what the zoo job is, it's hilarious when you open up invert keeper jobs, because the amount of people that apply going, yeah, I don't want to work with the inverts, but I'll work with the other animals. Like, no, this is a job for inverts.
Yeah, inverts only. There's no drafts here.
It doesn't work like that. but it does happen. That's what, that envies you working with animals. Always wanted to work in a zoo. Aren't you looking for employees?
I'll be honest, in the future, yes, I will be. So when I set up my business, I was on maternity leave. I've got 2 children, and I was on maternity leave, and just lifestyle changes, work life changes. My husband worked shifts, and then I had 2 young children, not one to look after. So the where I was brilliant, but the job role as a teacher was so difficult to manage. So when I set up with this intention that I get to be mum and I get to be Naomi. And I was very much excited for that. Animal Teach had another route in mind. Animal Teach has gone boom. Where I live, the community have taken it on board extremely well. I work with lots of different people, loads of different ages, backgrounds, environments. It doesn't matter where someone comes from. That doesn't matter to me. It's about just giving people an experience that they won't forget. So I have ended up doing, in the last year alone, over 80 educational workshops. I've been local and a bit further afield. I do one-to-one sessions, I do school sessions, community sessions. I do birthdays, but I don't really call them birthday parties, because it's an educational workshop for your birthday. So yeah, there's loads that I do, and it is building and growing quicker than I anticipated, which I'm very proud of. So in the future, please look out for jobs, because please do it, because I have support around me, which is fantastic, and I have people that help, but the majority of what I do is me. So with that support, it does help massively to take the pressure off always being the face of Animal Teach, because it's my baby, it's my 3rd baby, from designing the logo all the way till now. But yeah, in the future, please look out for jobs, because there's only so much I can do. And I expect it's going to grow even bigger.
Which is fantastic. So, just AMJ support. They the most amazing group. Naomi used to teach their group, and can't thank you enough for getting them all interested in nearly every animal taxa during that time. That's an amazing comment.
Thank you, MJ. I shouldn't have had favourite group, but MJ was in one of my favourite groups. They were a brilliant student, and that was really nice to say. So thank you. It's lovely to hear from you again.
So bunch of hey Steve again. Steve most of the day today. Hey Leah again, and Terry, Fiona Does as well most of the day. Doing a bit of a kind of a mission of sorts that we're not going to mention. because I'm sure Leah and Leah will do something about that on her channel. That was a question for both of us. If you could only have one species at home, what would it be? That is a really difficult question.
Oh, what would you keep?
I really don't know.
This is only one of the rooms, so I'm the same. I'm like, I don't know.
It's a really difficult one because I'm such a generalist when it comes to the inverts. Because I just keep inverts myself now.
Yeah.
But I only want to keep only one particular species. I don't know if I have a favourite species up here. I don't have to pick one. I don't know. That's a real difficult one.
Definitely. I mean,
species.
I'm looking around thinking I'll just look at one and say that's it. But
yeah, I was like, well, that one's amazing. Maybe that one, and there's like, well, that one's amazing as well.
Yeah, that's a very difficult question. I mean, it's in my logo, but my favorite, even I like all of them to be honest. So they're all my favorites. Are chameleons. You know, growing up, I was always different, odd. And I liked how chameleons were different and odd and beautiful and colourful and that sort of thing. So yeah, I like chameleons quite a lot. I just think they're brilliantly weird. They've got the most amazing features. But at the same time, if you ask me about any of the other animals I'll keep now, I'll be like, oh my goodness, but this one's got that characteristic, or this one's got that one, or, you know, I love how the gargoyle gecko licks the eye clean, and, you know, I've got a chameleon gecko, picked that one up recently, who does this and has looked like it's got a little casque, and it's such a hard question that I really don't know. I like them all.
It really is. And you know that I've asked that because any animal person, there's always the hardest question: which one's your favourite? Narrowing it down to one is like so difficult. It's one of the things I always ask the worst. Which one's the favourite in the park? And I'm like, I don't have one favourite.
Of course, because you work with birds and stuff as well, don't you?
Yeah, I can narrow it down to two at work, which is the rhino iguana Carmen. And Rosie, the female red-crested Turco.
Yeah.
Purely because she acts like a dog. Kind of thing.
Yeah, not like a bird.
She's at the door when I will go. If I walk past the window, she's at the window. Go, oh, you're there. Come on, you coming to see me? And so I get so excited if she hasn't seen me for like what she deems too long. Are you back? Yes. Sort of thing. It's like can't not love her. Sort of things. Are sort of like. I can narrow down to those two, but again, but in terms of my own private collection, it's like, it's too difficult. It's really difficult to narrow down to just one species.
Yeah. Have you got a favourite type of invertebrate then, rather than a species? Would you prefer centipedes, tarantulas?
I love them all. You know,
that's even harder, isn't it?
Which is the problem as well, because then if the weirder it is, the more I'm going to like it as well. And stuff. Yeah. So it's all like I love my tarantulas, but I love my scorpions. I love centipedes. I love millipedes. I love assassins.
Yeah,
I love my isopods.
Oh, I love isopods. I love watching them in their own little world. I take them out and call them Woodlice World, and they're just brilliant. Kids love them. They're like, what's in there? And you go, look, like these are just around us all the time. And then if you look at what they do, they're fascinating.
Kids love a woodlouse. They like whenever we've done like bug hunts at the park.
Mm-hmm.
Every kid lights up when they find a woodlouse.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a woodlouse, you know. That's always the top thing. Hands down the top thing that they find. Which is fantastic. But I still do that to this day myself.
Yeah. I was doing a workshop the other day, and it was a very busy workshop, and all of a sudden there were birds. There were two long-tailed tits coming, pretty much landed near the car and started to eat off the feeder. And I just stopped what I was doing and told everyone to stop and watch. And they were like, what's up? And I was like, just watch the birds. And they just looked at me like, what? And I was like, just enjoy them. Look how close they are. Because if you don't stop and watch, you don't get to see them. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. They were like less than 2 meters away, and so that was brilliant. Same with the woodlice. Or if I'm out and about and I see anything, I'm like, look at that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Hey, Kale. So, Big, oh, big secret mission phase 3 is convening at 21 hours. Hey, Aaron. Steve's put that he'd keep his beady or his parrotlet. It changes depending on how naughty his parrotlet is. So Greg would keep his red on purple, so that's his favourite spider.
Yeah.
That's his favourite species. That doesn't surprise me that Greg chose that one. Ojan has a Cuban Amazon parrot. That's amazing. We've got Amazons here, but we're moving them on to a new home soon. Hey, Transfer Rookie, Matt, how you doing? So we started up Animal Teach. When did you when did you start that up completely?
So to do what I do, you need the animal activity license under it's the longest legislation name ever. So it's the Animal Welfare Licensing of Activities Involving Animal Regulation, England 2018. So in 2021, around August time, I quit my job. I was on maternity leave and put my notice in. And then I began to design the logo and build up my mini collection at that point. And then get all the paperwork ready for that licensing to be granted. And the local inspector come out the week before Christmas that year. And the first thing she said, because we started off in our shed, we had the prep kitchen on the side, we got everything secondhand. So it was, we fitted everything, did everything from scratch. And she went, "This is the weirdest place I've ever been, but in a good way." And it just made me try. I was like, "Oh my goodness me, I'm not going to get my license. What's going on?" And I have 35 different protocols and policies, and the name tags and everything are on there. You can see some of them behind me. They've all got, the habitat, the range, the temperature, the sex ratio, common name, species name, scientific name, and that's what she said to me. I was like, "Oh my goodness me, what have I done?" And anyway, she was lovely, and I was granted that license, which I was very, very happy with, which meant I could then go out and do things. So I started officially going into the public in January 2022, so just over a year ago. And then it hit me like, oh, there's no going back now. I need to get out there. And it has been non-stop since. I've had, like I say, a massive support from the local community, from local organisations to local businesses. And the support has been through sharing things, hosting me, recommending what I do. And yeah, it's been really reassuring that I didn't just do this massive spontaneous leap, which I do that quite often. I'm very much excitable and I'm like, yeah, let's do this, let's go. And this was a huge leap. So it was very reassuring that I did the right decision. And it's something I'm incredibly proud of. So I'm on, officially, it's about month 14 now. Month 14, and I love it. Every day is different.
That's fantastic. And I think when that came on, once everyone started having their inspections, the amount of stories that everyone had of their inspection was, some of them were insane.
Yeah.
So we'll have our inspection stories and stuff like. Because my parents, they've got an AL and they do displays of their reptiles and stuff, and they do it at country shows and stuff. And of course, that was very much the talk of the country shows for a good year.
Yeah.
Was like, what was your inspection like?
Yeah.
Did they say, so like, did they say anything weird? Especially with the first ones that were sort of ever in the first year of them. And so like there was a bird of prey guy who'd done the shows that his inspector turned up and went, "Well, it says birds of prey. Do you have birds?" I went, "Well, yeah." I was like, "Oh, I'm scared of birds. You're passed."
Oh, wow.
You're not going to come in and actually check. And they're like, no, I'm phobic of birds. You're passed.
Oh, my goodness.
no, you need to come and check.
Yeah.
Someone
The
has to
law
come
is
in
there
and
for a
check
reason.
me. Like that's meant to be the idea. I think that no, I was just too scared, but we'll pass you anyway. And this was like, but I thought the idea was that you meant to check me and make sure that I'm doing everything correct.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because it's not. I mean, you would have seen the guidelines and stuff, and a lot of people would have it accessible everywhere, aren't they? But it's not a simple thing to follow. It's not as easy as feed water, fill in some sheets. It's everything, isn't it? The usage log, the travel log, the feed and the water, and the health check and behaviour, birth, deaths, dispositions. You know, there's so many different things that go into it before you can even go out with the animals. So it's really shocking that he's just gone, no, I'm all right, thanks, you've passed. Like, you'd sort of want to know and check them that they're okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, yeah, my parents one. When their first one, well, it's the same inspector that they've had twice now, but yeah, the first time that the inspector came out was more concerned with the fact that they had enclosures of cockroaches. And so it was like, you've got cockroaches. Yeah, they're like, yeah, but they're not part of any licensing because they're an invert, so they're exempt.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? But so yeah, she was an environmental health inspector.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm used to inspecting kitchens, and I fail people for cockroaches.
Oh my goodness!
And you've got
No
enclosures.
wonder you didn't want to see cockroaches.
But since then, they're like, oh no, they come and start teaching her about cockroaches, kind of thing. And they're like, okay, sort of thing. But that was like the biggest thing. She's like, you got cockroaches? Do people keep cockroaches? What?
Yeah.
Because you used to that being not a good thing. Hey, we'll pay
Whereas
Mark.
to people like us, it's totally normal.
As it, you know, yeah, we've just got 20 species of cockroach. You know, here we go.
Cockroaches are one
That's
that
just the queens so often die in captivity. I'm guessing means or breeding. Once heard such a theory from breeders. Is it true? I
guess it depends on the
depends on so many things.
Yeah, there's so many factors, isn't there? There's the husbandry that goes into it. The genetics is a big one. You know, for example, he was the star. Cosmo the panther chameleon was one of my first animals, and he passed away very unexpectedly last year. And we did a husbandry review. We did everything with the vet, and it come down to probably genetics because of his age. It's something that was predisposed that we could have never highlighted because he was showing every sign of good health. Every guideline, like husbandry sort of factor, was fine. His supplementation was fine. And then the vet was telling me about genetics and how that is having a big impact on panther chameleons. But then there's others that live an extremely long life. They do extremely well. So I guess like you say, it depends, doesn't it?
Yeah, it depends on so many things. You know, and if they're female, if they've got anywhere to lay eggs, because they sometimes become gravid, whether they've been mated or not, or they'll have like, they'll produce the follicles and stuff. And I mean, at the park here, we had female panther chameleon that got follicle stasis and never been mated.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, she decided that even though we put lots of places for her to actually, you know, to go and dig and stuff, she decided that they weren't good enough.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, which is a really, really sort of sad to see. But you know, unfortunately, some communities naturally don't have hugely long lives. Some of them, not really. But I think it's definitely got better with comedians over the years.
Yeah.
Only my early days of keeping reptiles, sort of 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Changed a hell of a lot.
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
A lot more understanding in them, and especially with like, you know, where you got like the montane species and stuff like that. You know, not every reptile likes it really, really hot.
No.
No. You know, and various other things, and airflow, and all sorts of things that are taken into sort of consideration with it and stuff. So, what's going on there? Okay. So you started up, Animal Teach and stuff. So what are the sort of things that Animal Teach offers to people?
When I did my business plan, which was 70 pages long, that's the teacher side of me. I thought I'd just be going into schools and doing birthdays, but it's not. I do educational workshops for birthdays still for schools, so I do everything from early years, Key Stage 1 to Key Stage 4, and SEND. I also work with home education groups. I work with people on probation. I work with. I'm looking at my calendar because there's all sorts local organisations that support sort of more disadvantaged families, support people who are maybe in a more difficult time of their life. So there's lots of different elements that I work with, and lots of different types of workshops. So there's never one theme. There's lots of themes, so I can make a theme and make it quite bespoke for someone that I'm working with. So one of the favourites of a school for the younger children is Around the World, and I have the map. I've got in the hall ready for tomorrow's session. I travel around the world and I take animals from each section, and the kids get a ticket and a souvenir, and we discuss everything from defence mechanisms to behaviours to feeding strategies and habitats and range. So that's quite a broad one. Excuse me. The recent home education group I did was a 3-week course, once weekly, and the first one is talking about reptiles and invertebrates in particular, and the habitat and range and that sort of thing. The second session, we began to learn about their anatomy and biology and how their bodies work, how they're different, the hearts are different to ours. And then the final one, I did insect habitat building. So I took jumping spiders and ghost mantis, and they had the invertebrate fact sheet, and they also had an empty enclosure and the animal, and they had to build up the enclosure with the resources I took along, meeting the invertebrate's requirements, and then watching what the invertebrate did when it went in. And the kids loved it. The adults loved it.
I mean, that sounds amazing.
It was so much fun. The Pumpkin, my jumping spider, she just loves the new enclosure. Absolutely loves it. It's very natural, got loads of things you'd expect to see in their natural habitat. And one of the biggest things that the families took away from all of that, was all of them skills that they wouldn't necessarily get a chance to do anywhere else, but I could provide that. So it can vary. Some are more relaxed sessions. So as much as I'm teaching and there's a lot going on, it's more relaxed to suit the audience that I'm working with. And I also, as well as taking the animals and the resource or the activities, I call myself pretty much like a traveling college/museum. So I take out insects in resin, molts, exoskeletons, snake skin, everything like that. So it becomes more of a sensory experience as well. Some of my animals that have passed away, I've put in jars myself, and got them there to show the anatomy and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's lots of different elements, and if anyone has any molts, please send them my way, because there's only so much my tarantulas molt. I've only got one. I've got 3 tarantulas but 1 molt, so I'm always on the lookout for those extra little things. And even if the stick insects pass away, I'll store them in these lovely little tubs, and then when I go out, I'll take a microscope so people can see up close what they look like. So there's so many different elements to what I do, so many different elements that there's lots of different types of workshop that I offer. Yeah, there's loads actually. Now I think about it.
Hey Kitty, that's really cool though, because I mean, there's, the vast majority, that's my sort of parents included with what they do. It's often just here's the animals and do some and that's it. But
yeah,
they're doing workshops, where you're getting kids involved in enclosure design and stuff. As I said, there's so many skills that can be learned by that.
Yeah,
really interactive, where they may go like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe we can get this this species of stick insect and keep it." Actually, that perhaps is a better starter pet than a hamster. That's that's cool. If we can deal with that kind of thing, and we've now learned how to make it, and how to perhaps research how to make an enclosure and stuff, and what you need to do.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely amazing. Hey Russell,
there's a few more comments coming in.
Yeah, Leah's just that's what she does. So Leah and Joe, they've just got their AAL very recently.
Oh, fantastic!
Just with inverts for a while, but they've now got their AAL, and they're
Amazing.
doing, very very similar with doing all the other sort of the other things and stuff, and getting the kids really involved and stuff, which is fantastic, because they are obviously they're the next generation of animal keepers and animal lovers and stuff, and even get that into them at an early stage. Hopefully, they'll carry on that track, spearhead conservation in the future and stuff.
Yeah, and it's good to encourage that. Like some of the children that I've worked with in particular over the last year or so, I've then gone on to keep their own animals, and I've gone out and helped them set up the enclosures, help them, recommend what they need, what they can do. Because quite often, like information's always changing, and some of it's outdated, some of it's being updated. So giving them that recommendation, and there's quite a few families I work with, and they send me messages now of the millipedes they've got, or the crested gecko, or whatever it may be, and it's nice to see like the enthusiasm they've carried on looking after their own animal, learning the skills from the workshop.
Yeah, that's cool. And Liz, I just put she also makes jewelry and stuff using molts, and when they die of old age and stuff, sort of like set them in resin or whatever.
Yeah, I love bugs in resin. One of the first things I ever bought for Animal Teach was I drove a few hours to get them, and it was the National Geographic collection of the bugs in resin and the magazines.
Oh yeah.
And I take every single workshop I do, they're there, and they're incredible. Absolutely. I mean, if I had a bit more time, I'd do my own, but I don't at the minute. So I use these ones, and they're just brilliant, aren't they, as a resource? And if a kid doesn't want to hold a live bug, well, it's like, well, look at this one instead. You can see it up close. Yeah. So, I've already made a note of, was it Unusual Pets? I've made a note here that to go on. I'm going to guess you're on social media. So I'll be having a little look at your things.
Yeah, she's down in Abergavenny.
Yeah.
And so she's but she's absolutely storming it with it all, sort of thing, which is fantastic. Again, lots of she's only just started, but getting lots of regular bookings already, which is great. So you got over 40 species now.
Yeah, that's including the inverts. So over 40. So there's geckos, frogs, crocodile skink, Ackee monitor, Brazilian rainbow boa, royal python, Kenyan sand boa. I mean, I could be here all day, to be honest. All night. There is a lot. The majority are on my website, so I do that myself, the website. So when I get a chance, I put a little bit of information on, and the majority are on there. But the inverted Brits, depending on the lifespan, are forever changing and adapting, so they don't tend to go on there unless it's the snails, millipedes, and cockroaches, the sort of standard ones that I take out.
Well, basically, you always having the favourites to go out and stuff, and because always they're the good handling ones. So and you know what they're going to do and stuff.
They are. I mean, one of the most recent ones I've got. So, there's a few. So I've been rearing beetle larvae for a while, and the Ugandan flower beetles, it's just out there. It's just hatched out this evening, and it's taken forever, and then it hatched. It's my fourth one now, and they're beautiful. So they go out, but quite often stay in the enclosure, especially in a big room, so they don't fly away. But one of the other ones that I've got recently are the blue death feigning beetles. I'm in love with them. They are the most coolest things when they play dead, and then oh my goodness, I just love them. I think they're brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So there's the additional species, like the ghost mantis is another one. So Phantom, the ghost mantis, goes out with me, and we play Where's the Mantis in the enclosure, and then I show them how she walks and stuff. And she's been another brilliant hit. And the leaf insects, stick insects, honestly, I could There's all sorts. There's absolutely all sorts.
There actually is, especially especially with the inverts, because there's so many. Just talking of animal defense, and predator avoidance, just the amount of the feigning death. So, there's actually there is a lot of animals that do that, but not many that you can really just have in your hand and go, it's pretending to be dead. As well, I mean, I keep the death animals and I've done for nearly 10 years now. I think I've had them. Very long-lived beetles, which is fantastic. But I've had they're not even blue and stuff technically and stuff, and like people are like, oh, how come they're blue? Like, oh, actually, it's a dried waxy coating, and they're not actually blue; they're black. And so, and go into all that whole strategy for desert survival. And stuff. There's so much just in one species, just to talk about it. And I say with the phasmids and stuff, all the camouflage and stuff, especially leaf insects.
I love leaf insects.
Get like a giant any leaf insect, but especially like a giant leaf insect that's nice and big. And stuff. I mean, you get all the veins of a leaf on it, and you're like, look at that for camouflage.
I absolutely love it when I take mine out, and then I'll get them out on a stick or bamboo or whatever, and I'm holding them, and then someone goes, "Why have you got a leaf?" And I'm like, "No, it's not. Watch." And they see it walk, and they go, "No, oh my goodness, it's real!" And I'm like, "Yep, it's real." I mean, stick insect wise, or phasmid wise, I absolutely love Malayan jungle nymphs. Oh my goodness, they're just beautiful. And they're on my list to get again this year. So I did have some, but they've passed away. They were old, they get to that age, don't they? And they're on my list now to look out for. But there's so, like you say, there's so many things you can talk about: the colours, the camouflage, the patterns, the defense mechanisms, and they're so much fun as well, aren't they?
That's it. Absolutely is. And I just think because especially people that don't know inverts, I deal with every day people that don't really care about inverts. So it's like my mission to try and get them to at least get an interest in at least one invert and stuff. So because people don't realise, the general public that don't know inverts don't realise there's so many interesting things, there's so much interesting behaviour that you can see, and various strategies and stuff in inverts, and then they just get amazed by it, and they're like, oh my god, I never knew that. So just wanted to check out your website now, and Pig is an awesome name for a tortoise.
So my son called the tortoise Pig. That's my Herman's tortoise. I've got Redfoots as well to be added on to the license this year. They're due to be named, but Pig the tortoise is one of the biggest talking points when I go out, because I say Pig the tortoise. Quite often children are looking for a pig, and I have to explain that he's the tortoise. But Noah called him Pig, and the name stuck. He is a pig. He absolutely loves grazing on his food. And so it's a fun name.
Hey Jackie, hey Jeremy.
Oh yeah, Black Beauty stick insect. So Love at First Bite, as just said, Black Beauties I love. And they're on my list to get again this year. So I had a colony last year. They get to that age, don't they? So they're on my list because they're beautiful.
So they are, and they're a great one because they're easy to keep and breed and stuff, but also critically endangered.
Yes.
so being from obviously being from the zoo background stuff, like me, always keen to get in a bit of a conservation angle somewhere. All times, so critically endangered, and why they're critically endangered and stuff, because they're so common in captivity, that species, that people don't realise how endangered they are. But it's all because they're up on mountain and that's it. So there only was a 6 hectare site or something, and that's their entire range,
isn't it? And that's it.
And that's it. The only place they're found. Hey, Harper. So, like and it all goes into that, as well as the use of chemical warfare for they spray. So, Erin asked, do you have any cats or dogs?
I do. So we've got cats. We've got 2 cats. We've had them for quite a while. our dog, so it when me and my husband first moved out, he wasn't allowed pets. So we have a dog at mother-in-law's, and we're up there quite often, and he gets cuddles and treats. He's 14 this year. He's an old dog. He's a staff lab, and he's lovely. So there are furry animals, just not many of them.
Right. But these sometimes they take up more time than the non-furry sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. At least I haven't got to walk the majority of these. I can exercise them a different way.
That's it. That's it. So when thinking of perhaps adding a new species to the collection, I'm going to guess that you've probably got certain criteria that you want to kind of tick off before getting a practice limit. Whether it be like in the zoo world, people perhaps don't realize, but we have to tick certain boxes before we when we're thinking of a different species, like right, what is the reason for getting the species and stuff. I'm guessing you're probably doing a similar sort of thing.
Yeah.
Of not just I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes my heart rules my head. For example, last week I couldn't resist going out to get a chameleon gecko. It was beautiful. I've got quite a few New Caledonian species. So there's the gargoyles, the cresteds, the New Caledonian giants, or the Leachianus, but he's a baby, so he's like this big. And then this one come up, and I was like, perfect, because geckos are a massive thing to talk about when I go out. But my heart rules my head, and before I knew it, I was coming home with one. But the majority of the time, I do go through that criteria. Is it a species that will obviously fit in the collection? So it's in my house, so I've got to consider that. Is it a species that I can transport safely and effectively? Is it a species that will not mind being out in the public? Now, everything I do, before they even get added to my license, them animals settle in with me. I don't get them and they go out. They stay with me until they need that time to go out. And if for whatever reason, one animal, it can't change how it feels or it behaves, then I always look to educational establishments like land-based colleges or zoos to rehome, rather than independent or private people. I'd rather it go to somewhere where there's that reputation anyway. But that's not very often. So yeah, there's a lot of criteria. And then as the business is getting bigger, I also have to consider, it goes back to that legislation, the usage of the animals. So like I say, I'm strict on my protocols. I have over 35 for what I do. So I have to make sure, have I got animals for this date, and this date? If that animal is shedding, for example, Skittles is shedding now. So have I got an alternative species to take out? And if that alternative species isn't available, what else do I have? So there's always lots of questions going through my mind when I expand the animals. Like I say, sometimes that heart rules my head. However, the majority of the time, I have to think of the businessy side, and is that animal collection doing what Animal Teach stands for? And that criteria goes back to that licensing and ticking off everything, like someone mentioned about the enclosures behind me. These are all animal activity license sort of guidelines. A lot of them are actually bigger than what the animals legally require. If I could have a massive building, so that is my long-term plan. My long-term plan is to have the Animal Teach education hub, and it is to have that building and that space where I can really expand even more and make it even more immersive for the public to come and join into the Animal Teach community. But for now, it's building it up in my house instead.
Absolutely. So I was going to say a massive thank you to Steve W. Hasn't come up on StreamYard, but it's come up on my phone that he's just gifted 5 channel memberships out. Cheers, Steve has gone to Kale, Sharon Love at First Bite, Wolf, Harry, and MJ.
Oh, wonderful.
All been gifted channel memberships. I think they last for, I think the gifts last for a month, I think. So, but cheers, Steve.
That's lovely.
So, yeah. or else, and then YouTube sort of picks it around you. It's a bit weird. I got a little notification on mine being like, "Did I want to accept a gift?" I was like, "I don't need to be a member of my own channel." I'm like, what? So cheers to that. So Steve's an absolutely amazing guy.
He's lovely. I've noticed he's been sharing my social media, so thank you.
Yeah,
I've seen the links to Facebook and Instagram going on there. So yeah, that's lovely. Thank you.
And yeah, everyone do go and check out the various social media, give a follow and stuff, and share around to people, especially if you're up in the areas. It was Runcorn, Runcorn area.
Yeah, so close to Liverpool. Not a lot of people know Runcorn. So yeah, so I'm in the northwest of England.
So yeah, shout out then, especially if you think you know anyone up in that area that perhaps would like a workshop as well, sort of thing. And I see you own tarantulas.
I do. I have 3. So I have a Chilean rose, a Mexican fire leg, and a curly hair.
Nice.
So yeah, I've got 3 for now. But my I love tarantulas. I equally love jumping spiders. I've only got one at the minute. That's another one where my heart rules my head, and I have to tell myself like, no, don't do it. You don't need it right now. But they're just so cool.
Well, no, totally. I think but they're those 3 tarantulas, and then jump spider. In terms of doing what you're doing, they are probably some of the best ones you could have for it, because there's amazing tarantulas out there. That some people might be like, well, these are much better because of whatever. But like, well, those you're not going to see out about their fossorial. They're going to be down a burrow, and it gives them the interesting sort of thing. It's been like, if I was to take any out, I've got Barupi Sonorosagora with bright neon blue legs. There's no point in me taking that out anywhere because no one's going to see it.
No. It's in there somewhere. You'll be putting a toy in there.
The whole there. It's got the whole. It has got neon blue legs. Trust me. But take out a curly hair or a rose or Mexican red knee or something like that is out and about all the time.
Yeah.
So they pretty much never hide once they're sort of sub-adult kind of thing. And they're just as beautiful. And I think people that aren't really into tarantulas get more out of that anyway. Obviously knows as other than sort of help get over some of the negative connotations of tarantulas, that people believe that where they're not really truly phobic, but they're just like kind of fake, kind of phobic, and put on a bit of a show sort of thing sometimes around them. Absolutely, even creative support that curly hairs are underrated, which they are underrated because they're fantastic.
Curly hairs, they're stunning, aren't they? I love showing so I take it's Charlotte, my curly hair, Charlotte the curly hair, and I take her molt out and show people it under the microscope. So I've got a little microscope that plugs into my tablet, and I show them like the hairs and the feet and the little claws and the chelicerae and that sort of thing, and people love it. They absolutely love it. And it is brilliant. She's a nice one. Sometimes she's sort of there, spinnerets are going and she's running and that sort of thing. But I take her to the photo shoots and stuff that I do, and she does enjoy it. And the fire leg is pretty, very pretty because of the colours. I mean, she's definitely a hair flicker. But yeah, she's called Jenny, and then I've got Scarlet. So they've all got names.
But I think when you do something, mine aren't named, that's probably because I've got so many. But when you do, do it, the public, whether it be in the zoo setting or doing workshops and stuff, and especially kids, love it if they're named.
Yeah.
And it helps create that connection.
Yeah.
As well, people feel a bit more connected with the animal that isn't theirs at all.
Yeah.
By going, and especially if it's kind of a not stereotypical name as well. Sometimes, it always goes down well. Sometimes it's like kind of like an old English name, and sometimes we're like, like, this is Trevor, and they're like, we've got a snapping turtle called Jacob, and people are like,
I love it.
Jacob. Like, yep. Don't know who named it, but it's called Jacob.
That's his name. I love asking children to name, Madagascar hissing cockroaches, they breed quite readily. But they're again a staple invertebrate species. And kids go, what are the names? I go, well, I've got Milo and Maisie, and then you can name the rest of them. And the same with the snails. I've got Gary and Michelle, and you can name the rest of them. And quite often they go, why have you called him Gary? And I'm like, have you never watched SpongeBob? SpongeBob's got a pet snail called Gary. And then they sort of click. But yeah, the animals like that and the stick insects, they have like 2 or 3 names that I've got on the labels. And then I like, kids, what do you want to call them? And they love that. They love that a lot.
No, absolutely do. And again, get some kind of interested as well, because then especially when they start thinking of stuff, and then sometimes they'll come up with some really, really random obscure name, and you go, I'm going to use that. I'm definitely using that name. Sort of thing. So Matt Transrookia has been clever and left the lid off his locust tub. So he's got locusts everywhere. We've all done that at times.
Oh, yeah. I think the crickets are even worse, aren't they? Because then they get out and they cheep. I think one was cheeping on your side. There was one.
Yeah, I've got a fresh batch of crickets today. So,
all right, so they're in the box.
they're in they're out the tubs in a bigger box. Being got loaded.
Yeah.
Stuff ready to be fed to all my tarantulas and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. When it comes to the locusts, the worst we've got a massive big net for them, and so when volunteers leave that net unzipped.
Oh no!
So open the door to Life Food Room, and you're like, seriously.
I can just imagine what that's like.
Like, there's even like carabiner clips on it and stuff, and you're like, you haven't even bothered.
Yeah. Oh, what a nightmare.
They're like, great, we've now got about 500 locusts everywhere.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Catch them all. That's another job.
Oh, Thomas has just got some new CITES level 1 ultra rare try these birding butterflies. So Thomas Youngluffy does a lot of pinning of things. So the entomological side of things.
Oh, amazing. I love stuff like that. Absolutely love it. I think it keeps their lives there a bit longer, doesn't it? I like taxidermy. I like pinning.
It's another side to it that again is especially with butterflies and moths and stuff. It's often something you can't see up close. So again, with the teaching side of that, again you've got things like the microscopes that actually see. Look, the wings are covered in scales.
Yeah,
which so many people don't realise.
Yeah. We went to a local museum at the weekend, and it's a science museum, and I was very fascinated because I had these microscopes and I love seeing things up close. And one of them was the proboscis of a butterfly. So I'm shouting my kids over, and my husband going, "Look at this!" And they're just like, "Oh, mummy's being mummy again." I was like, "Look, it's the proboscis of a butterfly," and they're just fascinating, aren't they? Absolutely fascinating.
Absolutely, yeah. Hey, Emma. So, we're down a bit of an issue with a beetle. Is that your sun beetles, Matt?
Yeah, I think I've seen some beetles mentioned earlier.
So as adults, they're not the longest of lives and stuff, but they should breed for you. They should have done their job, hopefully. So,
yeah, some beetles are fun to keep, aren't they? Very nice to keep.
So, again, it's a very underrated beetle.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
And so, because everyone sees it, and I've done it myself years ago. You see it and go, well, they're always the most basic of beetles, especially when you get into fruit beetles, and they're just sold as live food,
Yeah.
And I got a new appreciation from doing a display at work for him, a big 4x2x2 enclosure.
Wow.
Hundreds or so beetles out and about, as well as there's millipedes in there and there's snails in there, and it's like, I now have a new appreciation for these are absolutely awesome and stuff. As much as I've got larvae of giant beetles. I've got Hercules larvae and Atlas larvae and stuff. They take years to rear up.
Yeah,
At least some beetles, you can have a rolling colony,
yeah,
and you
there.
them all the time and stuff. So it's all like, you know what? They, again, they are one of the best beetles to keep because they
Yeah,
are beautiful, and stuff.
they
And
are lovely, aren't they? I think what was the one? I've got Pacnoda sinuata, or I don't know if I've pronounced that right. That second
yeah,
part.
back notice Noir yet.
Yeah, that's what I've got at the minute. I haven't got any marginatas actually. I haven't had them for a while, but these ones are brilliant. I was moving some stuff around the other day and found another little larvae, and they're just self-sustaining. They're fantastic.
Yeah, that is the brilliant thing of those Pacnodas. They'll just
Yeah.
keep going and going and going, and they've always got adults about all the time, so always sort of able to see them.
Yeah.
So,
like you say, you can mix them with the millipedes and the snails. The interactions when they go together, I species moved them. It's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And even like I found if you elevate the food, they absolutely swarm the food if it's elevated.
Yeah, love climbing up them branches, sticking to them. Yeah.
As mine at work they go for veg over fruit now.
Oh really? Oh wow.
Yeah. My lot of work, their favourite is corn on the cob.
Oh yeah, corn on the cob's been a hit with some of mine. Yeah, it's quite juicy, isn't it? Quite sweet.
Quite juicy, obviously sweet corn, sorry, it's quite sweet, but I'll stick in there, and I'll stick banana in there at the same time.
Yeah.
The banana will be the last thing that they touch.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Like, okay, this is actually really interesting to see because most of mine get primarily banana.
Yeah.
At work because I've got such a big tank. I was like, I can experiment with this.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, I can actually see it more sort of visually. So I'll get whole corn on the cob as well as like perhaps a parsnip and carrot, sweet potato, and banana. And you'll sometimes see maybe one or two perhaps go for them, but the corn on the cob will be swarmed by the end of the day.
Oh my goodness!
They will strip it bare.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
That's incredible.
And so I literally take out an empty husk of cob, just literally the core of it.
Yeah.
And so they'll go for the parsnip, over banana as well and stuff, and carrots over it. Mushrooms.
I've not tried mine on parsnip or mushrooms actually. I've tried them on corn on the cob and they love that. And I've tried them on carrots. They enjoyed that. But I'm going to try the parsnip. Yeah, definitely. I'll add that to their feeding plan.
But I just want to get the ones their work. They much prefer it if it's elevated. If it's on the floor, they pretty much don't touch it.
Wow. Oh my goodness, I've got so many ideas going through my head. Like branches and everything are in there, but I'm thinking like loads of extra sticks compared to what they've got already.
Yeah, I'm waiting for all the trees to start blossoming so I can put tree blossoms in there like I did last year because they love tree blossom.
I was gonna say, last year I did the same with butterfly bushes and that sort of thing. Yeah, with the flowers from the butterfly bush, and the snails love them as well. Oh my goodness, the snails devoured them.
And it's something that a lot of people don't think about of nutrition for inverts and stuff. And it's like, well, they're going to get different nutrition that you just can't provide at other times. That if they like it, they clearly need it. Stuff as well. So you're getting something good out of it.
Definitely.
So, which is really, really cool. So, going back to the animals and the workshops and stuff. On average, how many animals do you tend to take out to a workshop?
And how many animals was that? Sorry.
Yeah.
So I say to my guests a minimum of 6 for an hour at least, because I can talk for Britain for one, so I'll be talking about them before I know it. The hours being, and I'm only on animal number 2. But I try and do 3 invertebrates and 3 reptiles. The amphibians don't go out as often. I believe with them anyway, I handle them with gloves and that sort of thing. So I try and reduce their stress and they go out to certain workshops. And the same when it comes to snakes. I don't put snakes around necks and any tarantulas, when they go out, they're on bark it reduces that risk of someone naturally flinching and potentially dropping the animal. So it depends on where I'm going, but the majority of the time I take around 6 to 8. That's what I feel accommodates for that time. If I'm doing a large event, a very big public event, I double up the animals. So if one really isn't feeling it, then I've got an alternative. And there's always like a backup. And at the large public events, as well as taking the species that are typically handled, then I also take the sort of look and find enclosures, are what I call them. So the woodlice world, the find the mantis, and so there's always that extra on top of what I'm taking already. But yeah, it very much depends on where I'm going, and I do have, like I say I'll take a minimum of so many. Before I know it, my car's full. The plan is to get a van at some point. That's not happened yet, or a building, but it will happen. So it's what I can accommodate safely and making sure there's enough animals to suit what I'm doing, but a minimum of 6.
I mean, yeah, that's a good minimum and stuff. And that's it. Yeah, when you do the large, the people all do. Is that where it's nice to have a couple of just enclosures where the animals don't come out per site. People can at least see in there, perhaps have a challenge to try and spot whatever it is.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that's really well camouflaged.
Yeah.
And stuff. That's always good fun. And I certainly know the feeling of you kind of go, well, I've got this space to fill or whatever, and suddenly go, I've actually brought double what I needed to or whatever. It's so easy.
It's so easy to do, isn't it? I probably do that everywhere I go. Like, I always take the extras and I get there and I set up. And like I say, I've got the animals. Then I have I take books, jigsaws, activities for the younger ages. In particular, I take the snakeskin, the molts, the magnifying glasses, microscope. Then there's the cuddly toys, so very animal themed, the large snake, the large gecko. And before I know it, I look at my car and I'm like, right, this is it. I'm going to use them all. They'll all get utilised. And I go set up at a large event. And before I know it, half the things haven't been used because for one reason or another. And I'm carting about 200 boxes back, wondering why I'm heaving so many on my way. But it's a lot of fun though. And I think having the mix of the animals that don't mind being handled within reason and the animals that enjoy sort of just being in their enclosures whilst I'm out and about gives that additional experience. And it also teaches people you don't have to handle absolutely everything. You don't have to handle animals to appreciate them. There are some species that don't want to be handled, and I think we said it before, didn't we, about when people say to me, does the animal bite it? I'm like, well, if it wants to, it will. And it's just about having that honesty, isn't it? They're still an animal. Yeah, so I'm very much honest when I go out. I'm like,
you always get, with snakes, or has it been defanged? No, it has teeth for species, and no, I'm not going to rip its teeth out. Tarantulas, have they been defanged? Have you removed their venom sacs? No. Scorpions, have you removed their sting? You got to remove their sting to keep scorpions. So don't do that. Sort of thing. These things. Commonly held myths that are still believed to the same. They've been, spread around for over 20 years, and people still believe them. And something, they're kind of the common questions. Any snake, have you removed its venom glands? Well, these aren't venomous. And even if they were, I wouldn't remove the venom glands, and I perhaps wouldn't be handling it. Sort of thing. But you're always going to. You always get that, and and the whole, do they bite and stuff? Well, it's like, well, they can.
I'm very much the same, and I just they've got teeth, and they will if they want to, but that's why I'm here to watch their behaviour. And I tend to say, if they want to, they're still an animal. They are my family and pets, and similar to yourself, but they're still an animal more than anything.
Well, that's it, and it's sometimes even right people because you go, well, do you have a dog or cat? Like, but can that bite? Well, yeah, they can. Yeah. There's not really much difference. It's a different animal and stuff. It is for that. She does about 6 to 8, and thinks that's a good good. They found that that's a good amount easy to talk to, but yeah, it's also easy to talk about them all day and stuff. And it is, if you got that passion with for those animals, we could just talk for England about them and stuff and carry on and stuff, because there'll be all sorts of things that, go into right detail of things, and people are like, what are you on about now?
Yeah.
It's too easy. It's too easy. Thomas asked, are you going to the Barnsley show?
I've just noticed that question, so I'm really, really hoping to. It comes down to a few things, childcare, that sort of thing. But I'm really hoping to. I've not been to an invertebrate show before, and it's only a couple of hours away, so it's not too far. Hoping to. And if so, it'd be lovely to meet some of you that are online this evening. So that'll be nice. I did go to the reptile show earlier last year in November. It's moved to Milton Keynes now, hasn't it?
It's now moved down my way.
Yeah, it's moved your ways. It was close to me this year or last year.
And again, I don't have to travel up north anymore.
Yeah, that's where we bumped into each other as well, wasn't it? And we recognised each other from the Native Species Working Conference. So, fingers crossed, because it's only a few weeks away, isn't it? Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's like 3 weeks away. It was on the 26th.
Yeah, it's a Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a nice one to go to. So yeah, if I do, it'd be lovely to meet you if you go in.
I'm hoping I'm going. I was meant to have tables, but I missed out on getting tables because I went to book too late. So I don't know. My parents don't have tables, so I'm potentially going up just for the day and see what's there and stuff, and do the social aspect and just be a buyer for the day. But also what's great with the Investors UK shows, who run the shows, that show, as of this year, they've introduced educational talks at the shows.
Bugfest, isn't it? With Nick Wadden? Was he?
Yeah, they got Nick. Yeah, yep. But they also they've got for this one they've got Des Setco doing taxidermy workshop.
No way! Oh yeah, I'll be there.
Transfantastic Enclosures doing enclosure design workshop.
Lovely.
Sort of thing. So like the basics of doing, spray foam, cocoa fiber type backgrounds and stuff, all that sort of thing. Because he does a lot of horror themed stuff. Which I'm pretty sure everyone in chat. So I need to share that he actually had a tank stolen out of his car the other night. That's a Ouija board themed tank that he's been building. So there's the dates for all the shows. Well, for the Investors UK shows and stuff. So yeah, if you see a very unusual looking exoteric with a Ouija board in it being sold anywhere, that's been stolen.
Yeah. I'll keep it
so it's probably most likely going to be down around the Milton Keynes area because that's where he is. But
you
never know. Sometimes if they've quickly whipped out of his car and gone up north with it potentially, or wherever.
He's put so much effort into that as well, isn't it? It's horrible when someone takes it, doesn't recognise someone else's hard work. I
was going to use flake soil for some beetles. You can. It's a bit expensive for some beetles, but they'll certainly love it.
Mm-hmm.
I just use forest floor stuff myself for some beetles, but you can use flake soil. That's absolutely fine. So, but I say is expensive for them.
Yeah.
Catching up with comment. Oh, hey, Osmond. How you doing, buddy? So, and the Steve support that I get the best guests. so what are sort of your future plans with Animal Teach? Because you said it's grown a lot quicker than you first thought, which is
awesome. So I know long term, there's only so much I can extend the animals into every room in my house. And kids always say, do you live in a mansion? I'm like, no, I just don't have a normal house. So I have a house that's got there's no dining table because there's animals everywhere instead. So what's it called? So the long-term plan is to have an educational hub that the animals and my licensing and everything moves to. and everything is there, and it's still accessible for everyone in the local community. And if you do live further afield, it's not the end of the world, because I can do stuff like this, which I've started doing this year. A couple of weeks ago, actually, it was doing online sessions. So that is the long-term plan. Getting there is a different story, because I have the other side of Animal Teach and Naomi is the kids and the husband and our lifestyle, and the hours that I worked and the ages the children are. So as they grow up, and I don't want to wish the life away, but as they do grow up and they're both at school, it'll be so much easier to go to a place of work that isn't the family home and manage a building. It's also another thing that sort of I have to consider is where that building's going to be. Is it suitable? Will it suit large audiences? For example, a school, classes of up to 30 potentially. And I kind of want to be the go-to local day out, really, that people do book onto and really, really enjoy. So that is the long-term plan. Thinking about this year, it's really focusing on the educational workshops I provide. Do I want to do anything differently? Do I want to add different species or try new things? Because it's still a very young business, and that sort of thing. So there's lots of plans, but I mean, I've been reasonably focused tonight. I don't know why. My brain is normally 100 miles an hour. It thinks of loads of different things, and then I just go out and do it, and I get dead excited. So I have to really refocus my brain sometimes, and focus on a handful of things, not everything. But yeah, that's the plan, to have my building. That is the long-term plan that I'm working towards. But for now, I take them out in me really useful boxes, and they've got the thermometer hygrometers in there. They've got the hot water bottle, the fleece, the substrate. Everything's heat controlled when I go in and out. And then building up to the next stage, which should hopefully be within the next few years. Obviously permitting around other things, but that's my plan.
I mean, again, that's a lot of people's kind of dream, sometimes as well. I know there's people in the chat that they would love to do, or hoping to do something, sort of similar if they can and stuff. Part of me is sort of well, maybe one day in the future I'd have my collection in my own facility, I'm probably talking, a good maybe 10 years away from that, probably. The money to be able to do that.
So money's the biggest factor, isn't it?
Trying to do that, but it's like you see, where by like the likes of Bugs UK, where they've got their own bug zoo. Instead of in Norwich or just outside Norwich. So I mean, and that's it's taken him years to get to that point to be able to go. I can actually get a plot of land and literally build from scratch an entire invertebrate zoo.
So cool. That's on my list to visit, actually.
Which is awesome to do with just the sheer amount of inverts that are there, and like some of the plans that they've got is like if it happens, will be kind of amazing. And stuff, because this has got like 5 acres of land.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine how many cool things you could do on that amount of land? Like
so they just thought their future is rushing forward right now so fast that it's scaring her. And sometimes it does, and the thing is with this sort of business, you can have that sort of peaks and troughs where it's suddenly all go. Yeah. And then it seems to be, I mean, where's, hang on, there's nothing, and then you're sort of panicking because it's so busy and like, can I keep up with this? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, hang on a minute, there's not enough coming in.
Yeah. I should be doing something. Why is it not busy?
That sort of thing. And that's kind of the, nature. And I'm guessing, I don't know, do you have certain times of the year perhaps that you're, perhaps get more bookings than others, or has it been fairly consistent?
It depends really. So what I do, I fit in around the kids' school hours, child-minded hours, and the husband shift. So I sort of fit in as and when around that. My busiest times are probably half terms. A lot of the community groups will contact me and we'll do sessions together at the local community centres. and people who I go back with regularly and quite often. So yeah, half terms can be very, very busy. I'll work bank holidays, weekends and evenings because I'll be out doing rainbows, birthdays or brownies or scouts, beavers, whatever it may be. So there's the busiest times are probably, the half terms. The weekdays can tend to be a little bit quieter when it's school time, but it depends how often I'm out at the schools, the local schools. I mean, I'm saying that I'm busy in half terms. My calendar's at the side of me, and I am fully booked now until June. You know, on the tight schedule I've got, I am fully booked, and it is a good mix between evenings, weekends, daytime, nighttime. There's no set work pattern for what I do. Yeah, about to say Halloween is so busy. Yeah, I was booked up last year and it was brilliant where I went to one venue, which was fantastic, but for 5 nights or 4 nights, I can't remember. There was a lot of time I was there. And Halloween, it's one of the biggest things in probably our calendar, isn't it? To go along.
It's something where you can really feel you can have a bit of fun with it. This year I won't be doing it here, but I've always wanted, sort of for years, done a Halloween bug display at the park. So I've got lots of my own Halloween decorations that I'd put in it and stuff. But now we're not really doing event days here anymore. So looking at with my parents, perhaps putting on our own one, renting a hall somewhere, putting on our own one somewhere, like during the half term, potentially if we can afford to do it and stuff as like, they've got the AAL license, so they with all do all the reptile display side of it, and I can bring a whole load of inverts and stuff, and we're looking into it because we need to do it, get it all booked up soon if we if we're going to do it this year, sort of thing.
It's a good time of year for the types of animals that we look at.
You can have a lot of fun with it, especially with inverts. There's a lot of us in the invert game that we like skulls in our enclosures quite a lot of the time. They're like, oh, we can do this. I've got to the point that at work around Christmas time, I do now put Christmas decorations in with the spiders at work.
Oh, I love it.
I feel like I go a bit all out for Halloween, but then but at the same time, I'm very aware that actually that can have that negative connotation of that they're scary because of scary things in with them.
Yeah.
So I'm then like, right, after a month or so, right, there's now a Christmas present in with the tarantulas, which then the kids absolutely love because they're like, oh, what lovely, and then they start noticing like all the little Christmas, they're just like bath toy one, like rubber bath toys or whatever, like a little Santa or whatever.
Yeah.
In with the cockroaches and stuff, and they love that because it becomes like a little challenge for them. That they didn't know they were going to be there. I'm like, oh, let's find what else is there going to be? What other Christmassy things are going to be in with the inverts?
Oh, that's brilliant.
Don't expect that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. With the Halloween, they kind of almost do. Halloween, that's why there's a big life-size skeleton in with a carpet python.
Yeah. Oh, carpet pythons are incredible.
So, but yeah, it certainly, I think a lot of us in this game, we love Halloween and we love, perhaps, decorating up and doing like, Halloween displays, and they kind of do go together well. But I used to do it for like a week-long display with my own inverts here. Last year was 2 days. And then, like I say, this year probably not going to happen here. So we're looking at doing like perhaps initially start off with a day like in my parents' local area sort of thing and see what we can do there, kind of thing with it.
It sounds incredible. It sounds so much fun. I mean, I'll admit I'm a big wuss when it comes to Halloween. So I'm a proper scaredy cat. I dressed up as a cat. I mean, it wasn't massive. I put cat ears on and I painted my nose. I actually lost the makeup pen for it, so I used felt tip and I couldn't get off my face properly for a little while. So I'm a bit of a wuss. I don't mind skulls and skeletons, but it's when you're walking through the shops and the really creepy things hanging up, turn and fascia, or like there was one in Asda and it was this creepy doll on a rocking chair, and it was singing, a rocking horse. Oh my goodness me, I jumped out my skin. So yeah, I'm a big wuss when it comes to the creepy faces and stuff, skulls and stuff. Yeah, definitely. But the creepy things, oh no, I'm like that in the corner. Like I just like pumpkins.
What was I going to do? You often get then where even the kids in the house will be like, you know what, the props are far more scary than the animals.
Yeah.
Stuff. I don't like really, I try and not have really because of like dealing, it's wildlife parts, so we're dealing with some small kids sometimes.
Yeah.
One of the favourites is and there's actually an one, a doll that lifts its head off. Kind thing.
Oh my!
One of the favourites, especially of young kids, they love it.
Yeah.
And this morning, the parents go like, "Oh, that's a bit creepy." Look, it's like, oh, you're not having one of those. I get, and I'm now doing I just can't store it, but friends of mine, when they used to, I think at Exmoor Zoo, I think they done it.
Yeah.
They got a life-size sort of plastic skeleton and managed to get it basically on so it would just stand up inside a big acrylic cube sort of thing, open cube. They would fill it with over 1,000 cockroaches.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible!
Like dollops of red jam around the skeleton, and they'll just crawl up the skeleton eating the jam.
I absolutely love that. It's such a cool idea, isn't it?
That's awesome.
That is.
I don't do that anymore, but I was like, they told me about it. I was like, that sounds absolutely amazing. Just with like hitting cockroaches. Sort of thing.
God, don't you giving me ideas for Halloween later this year? I don't think I'll get a life-size skeleton, but I'm thinking like a mini one.
So one of the best is for Halloween. If you go to the shows, if you see Custom Aquaria, he makes the glass tanks. He makes glass coffin tanks.
Oh my goodness, he was at an event I went to. This was years ago. I remember, the coffin-shaped tanks. Yeah.
They always go down well because they're like, oh my god, it's a tank shaped like a coffin. They must be really deadly, whatever's in there, sort of thing. I get really simple. I've got one. It's got my predator beetle in, and it's got a plastic skeleton laid out in there and stuff that fits perfectly and stuff. And it's always like, right, just stick stuff, whatever in there and stuff. At the moment, it's got a predator beetle in there.
Yeah.
At one point, I had a really in the old coffin tank. I had a really heavy webbing spider.
Yeah.
So it was up and stuff, and looked really creepy.
Oh wow.
Oh
no, I love that.
Things like that always go down well. Lee has to go another mission. Needs some record and the device is unable to download the information while I was on. Okay, Leah. I think so. They've been delayed from actually getting back to there. They're having a long journey all the way from Cambridge back to Wales.
Yeah, I can imagine that's been quite a big journey.
So, no, Dan, it's a secret mission, Diana, but all will be revealed on her channel. So watch for that secret mission. You'll like it though. And so there's a few of us that helped out with it a little bit, sort of thing. But see you, Thomas. Cheers for doing it, mate. So comments. Yeah, Steve knows what the mission is. So it's all good. So, out of your what would you say are perhaps like the kids' sort of favourite ones to see?
If it's the invertebrates, kids really like the snails. Yeah, the snails for definite. They're a big one. The millipedes, most children like, but it tends to be split millipedes actually.
Yeah.
mean, I've got armored millipedes, and they're so cool. And they're probably people. I think kids like them more because they're not as big as the trained millipedes, but the adults like the trained millipedes. The biggest other one actually, so cockroaches are always there, has been the mantis species. We had a cryptic mantis and the ghost mantis. And they've been huge. I did a birthday across the weekend, and the young lad was like, "Have you brought Phantom, the ghost mantis?" And he remembered the mantis from the school that I'd been to, and yeah, the mantis was a good one to take out. So snails are the biggest for definite, and then the other ones are sort of second. And then when it comes to the reptiles, oh, it's probably, I'm trying to think what have I got? The crested geckos actually are a massive one. Gargoyle geckos again are huge, and the leopard geckos. So there's a theme there. The panther chameleons I take out with me at certain times of the year. So they're a stunning animal for for anybody. But yeah, probably the geckos. The geckos are a huge hit. A huge hit. Yeah, there's not one species actually. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we find the same with my parents' collection. Like, leopard geckos always leopard geckos, cresties, gargs are always like a fan favorite and stuff. More often more so than bearded dragons. I think a lot of people think they like a bearded dragon, but kids go like, "Oh, they're a bit big."
Yeah.
So I think I know my parents got rankings from Manchester last year, so they're hoping that the rankings will be perhaps a bit more popular because obviously much smaller.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But in my opinion, much better than a bearded dragon because they look awesome. So people love seeing like the big stuff, but the small stuff is almost sometimes much better. Like they've got sand boas that can be handled stuff, and like they love that, or or hognose because it's nice and small.
Yeah.
Then they get you get a boa constrictor and they're like, "Oh my god," and half people get scared of it, and half people are like, "Oh, this is awesome."
Yeah. The largest snake that I've got, the two biggest I've got is the royal python, and she's not even that big to be honest. She's not massive at all, and the Brazilian rainbow boa. If I get anything bigger, I'm gonna have to get another house to fit them in. But when staff appear in the future and come and work for us, there's two of us for that size because I'm only 5 foot tall, so I'm only small. There's two of us to handle the larger snake. I'd love to branch out to the next species, but for now it's the Brazilian rainbow boa is my big one, and he's stunning. They're gorgeous.
Brazilians are absolutely beautiful. MJ's on the lookout for rubber ducky isopods. They are incredibly cute. I do keep rubber duckies myself. I've got my colony. I actually recently added a few more to the colony. They're breeding, but they are very slow at breeding.
Yeah.
So duckies.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say probably the best person to get rubber duckies off in terms of online is Micro Exotics.
Oh, I'll make a note of that.
He does a lot of isopods. Everything he sells is captive bred by him.
Oh, perfect.
And so he won't sell it unless he's bred it himself, which is awesome. And so, he's because he had him down. Yeah, he's based in Cornwall, so he's at the Taunton show. And then I think he was selling like 6 at the show for like £85 for 6.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, they I've made a note of that because same as MJ, I'm always on the lookout.
Rubber duckies are incredibly cute. Kibaris in general, just the whole genus is like look at the genus like, oh my god.
Yeah,
I love Kibaris. I love all my isopods. Mariliana, Mariliella, I would love to get, but they are very much out of my price range at the moment. I was looking at those the other night. And if you think Kibaris rubber duckies are expensive and other Kibaris are, they've got nothing on some species. My God, I'm literally looking at red Diablos. 15 of them, £400.
Oh my goodness me.
I don't know if I can justify spending £400 on some isopods at the moment. I think people would
No.
actually agree, what is wrong with you, Phil?
Oh no, some of them are expensive, aren't they? And then others not so much. But it comes down to the species, doesn't it? And yeah, and what's there? I'm trying to think which ones I've got. I've got zebra wood lice.
Yep.
Oh, what else have I got? Orange. So yeah, orange wood lice because of striking colour.
Yeah.
Granulated, again, a standard one, but there's a few that
for what you're doing with the show, the workshop and stuff, they're some of the better species to take out because they're much more hardy. I wouldn't almost dare to take out rubber duckies to show people kind of thing, because I'd be like, I might die en route kind of thing. Whereas Lavis dairy cow, take those out. Sort of thing. People love them. So that's the thing. So they are hard to breed. They're slow. They're very slow when they're seasonal breeders. They have very, very few Menkei at a time.
I don't know if you can all see Phil, but he's disappeared off my screen, so I'm not too sure what he's pressed. Oh, he's back. Oh, Phil, he gave me a panic attack then. I thought I was about to host your show, and I was like, I don't know where he's gone, so...
Hey, what's happened? I've been kicked out. What's going on? So it happens every now and then. I'll just kick you out sometimes. You're gone. I don't. One tricks with all the Cabarrus that I've found so far. Panda King's really, really easy to breed. If you haven't kept Cabarrus before, get Panda Kings and you'll breed them.
Panda Kings are lovely, aren't they?
Fantastic. They are my first Cabarrus species. But they like a lot of calcium, so I use a lot of limestone flour, lime granules, chunks of limestone, as well as cuttlefish, and then also use I feed them bat guano.
Oh yeah,
because they come from caves.
So of course it makes sense, doesn't it?
They come from limestone caves in like Thailand and Vietnam and stuff. They eat a lot of bat guano in the wild. So let's give them some bat guano, which is suggested by Micro Exotics, and it definitely works. It goes. So they and then there's keep them the same as other isopods, but a bit more humid because of being down in caves.
Yeah, definitely.
Apparently Richard Invest has them 11 mixed sizes for 250. That's quite expensive, Harry, for them, to be honest. You can definitely get him gym like that now. And they may have been ones potential. I don't know because I've never bought off him, but I know that he was at the show down in Taunton. So he may have just bought a load off Micro, and then he's just put them on his own site potentially. It does happen a lot. So actually, that's a good shout, Steve. Hoffman's Ego for large species because they're like the longest isopod.
Oh, that's
feels like wouldn't be. It feels like without Phil leaving.
I did panic. I'm like that, going, I'm not Phil. So I can pretend. I started talking really slow, hoping you just appear.
It's definitely happened before where all of a sudden I had one where it's like StreamYard just kept kicking me out, and I was like, "What is going on? Why is it kicking out my stream?" I have no idea what's happening. Amber duck. Yeah, amber duckies are more for the rubber ducky. There's even now someone on the various forums that's looks like they've got an albino rubber ducky isopod.
Oh wow.
That they're bred. Just come out. His name is Incredible Inverts for a while.
It was. I would have been running into the hallway to the inverts, going, "Hang on a minute, I'll just go grab one."
Anyway, it's not a loose cricket; it's in a tub. It's just a new cricket. So that's if you can hear a cricket, chances are it's one of my crickets that calls. If you ever hear crickets when watching the stream, it's probably one of mine. I've been even calling in some of my videos. All you hear sometimes is crickets.
Yeah. Do you know what I think it's quite a nice sound. It can get a little bit annoying, but then I just like imagine that and the rainfall. It's quite a tropical sound, but that might just be me. I know my husband absolutely hates it when they chirp.
If you've been around them long enough, you don't hear it.
No.
Unless it's a particularly loud one.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't. I use black crickets primarily. I prefer black crickets to brown crickets myself.
Yeah.
And so just because they get bigger for the bigger things and they're a bit slower, so easier to catch and stuff. And they don't infest your house if they get out.
No. Silent browns, which aren't silent.
That sort of thing will just infest the place if they get out.
Yeah.
I don't notice them when they go. I'm so used to it because I've been around for over sort of 20 years. I just don't hear it. So everyone's like, "What's that noise?" What noise? Oh yeah.
Oh, that one.
Because it's that background kind of almost white noise kind of thing.
Yeah. I used to work with Egyptian fruit bats, and we had quite a large colony, and they were incredible. And everyone who come in the bat cave was like, "You absolutely stink." So I'd be like, "Of what?"
Yep.
Like I knew I'd cleaned up, but I couldn't. After a while, I couldn't genuinely smell the bat feces. I couldn't smell the fruit. Couldn't do any of it. Now I've not been obviously working in a safari for a while, and if I do go back, I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I can smell it a bit now." But when you're working in it, you don't. You're
completely nose blind.
A normal smell. Giraffe House was another one. Like you just get used to it. Oh, it stinks in here. It's got quite a particular smell, and you'd be like, "What? No, can't smell it until you're away from it from a little bit."
I have work the African sandspill, which is sulcata tortoises and leopard tortoises with turquoise and stuff. And literally, people coming like, "Oh, it stinks," and I'm there going, "No, it doesn't." People complain about the smell. I'm like, "What smell? I can't smell anything in here."
I remember getting
I don't have, and especially the past few years where you're like, "Hey, man, do I still have a sense of smell going on?"
Yeah.
Let me go and stand in the meat room. Yep, I still have a sense of smell.
Oh yeah, the meat room stinks, doesn't it?
I can smell that very clearly. But yeah, the tortoise was like, you get people like, "Oh, it really stinks in there." I'm like, "It doesn't. I can't smell anything. What are you on about?"
Yeah.
But okay, chance to them because it's a different smell. It does. And we smell it every single day. It doesn't.
No, I remember going to Asda to do me shopping after work one day. I just went there straight in my uniform. I mean, I had an idea that I was a bit smelly because of what I'd worked with, but it wasn't really that much of an issue until the lady at the till was like, "You absolutely stink." And I just looked at her and I was like, "Oh my goodness, is it that bad?" And she could see me badge and stuff, so she knew where I worked. And I was like, I can't particularly smell what you're smelling, but I'll make sure I wash when I go home." She absolutely ripped into me, and I was like, "Oh my goodness me, only someone would say that to me, like, you absolutely stink." But for me, it was normal to smell like giraffes and bats and poo on a daily basis. Like, working with the animals, it's not a clean job, is it? You do stink.
No, you don't. I mean, I was thinking, it's good. We have a train station literally, next door to us, so, all the volunteers and stuff, especially once they get the train, that it was like, "Oh, it's really nice because we always get seats on the train because no one's sitting next to us because we stink." Especially if they've worked with like marmosets or tamarins.
Oh yeah,
they have a very distinct smell. if they've done anything with the meerkats, sort of thing, definitely smell that. If they've if it's been a day where they've been able to help out with like anything with the tigers, okay, very distinct smell.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's tigers stuff. I used to I didn't really work with the big cats or anything on the safari really. I was more the walk around. But then when you went past the meat room and everything like that, and the smell of certain feces, you sort of, no. I'll stick with the less smellier species. Still smelly, but not as smelly.
Some of them are very particularly. I mean, the best is when was actually a keeper. He got he got pulled over as a random sort of stop and search on the road. It's just a random one, but he'd been working with the main wolves.
Oh,
so all of a sudden it became a drug search. It was like, no. This is what of course the police don't know that, so they were like, no, you're having us on here. We can definitely smell stuff in here. It like, it's not a swear.
I'll take you to the zoo. Come and sniff the wolves. Like
we actually had once the police actually came to us to search the enclosure. Because someone knew had moved in, and they accused us of being a factory for it and stuff. And we're like, well, we can take it to see where the smell's coming from. They're like,
yeah.
And then they're like, oh my god, they actually do smell like that. Like, yep. Like, why is that? Well, I'm not entirely sure why that particular smell, but it's an interesting one to choose.
Oh my god!
It is the thing where you just sort of like, randomly stop as a zookeeper, sort of thing. Any kind of scratch on you, you've always been attacked by something.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then with me, it's like, no, I'm an invert keeper, so it's bramble.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Collecting bramble for our stick insects. We had loads. And I love going down to the woodland area, collecting my raspberry, my bramble, and everything I needed. But without fail, I would look the same as you, attacked every single time. My legs, my arms. You know, it didn't matter what I was doing. If I could have even just walked past bramble and not touched the thing, but I ended up scratched to death on my arms. But yeah, bramble, nightmare. The bugs love it, but I'm like that, like, oh, not again.
There was this thing with the Terrestrial Invertebrate Working Group years ago, and I think it was for the hazardous inverts, and it was like going around with this questionnaire, it's like, like whether you've been bitten by certain things, this, that, the other, and rating, what we would deem as a hazard to work with and all this, and literally all of us went, bramble. Can we put bramble down? That's the most aggressive thing that we work with.
Yeah.
Like, the spiders are fine, like the guys that work with, the DWA spiders, they're like, they're fine because they never touch us. We never touch them. The bramble. That's what we do by the most. And like eventually we're, yes, you can put bramble down as a hazardous invert. Like, thank you. That's our biggest hazard. Because everything else we have tools to work with around it. We don't have to touch it and stuff. Bramble, you wear gloves and then you grab it and it goes straight through the gloves.
Yeah. Do you know what? It doesn't matter what gloves you wear, it goes through, doesn't it? You could wear the thickest gloves in the world and your hands still
you'll still get a bramble thorn go through and stuff. You get really long pieces and then just gets tangled in your hair and you're like, oh my god, what's happening?
I used to love it when we had quite a large raspberry plant area, and when that appeared in summertime and it was the time to cut it down, I was like, this is amazing because it's nowhere near as thorny, is it? So for about 3 weeks of the year, there was no cuts or scratches and you could sort of like heal ready for the next season.
But as I think, you get coming out, and if you go anywhere in your uniform, it's always, or did a lion attack you, or did a tiger attack you, and something like that. No,
it was a plant.
Don't give him with them. It's always that same thing that every single time that happens. If you go anywhere in zoo uniform, especially if you end up in hospital. I haven't, but if you had a very it's often a silly accident at a zoo or whatever, and you end up in hospital, it's always, what attacked you? And you're like, no, I just tripped over a fence or something.
Yeah, fell into a pile of bramble.
fell down a hill, whatever, hit my head on this branch that's been there for 10 years.
Yeah.
I stood up at the wrong time and whacked my head on there and given myself a concussion. Well, that happens a lot of them, especially if you work with birds. There's not anything hanging branches.
Never the exciting story, is it?
Stuff always happens.
Joe, I'm glad it's not just me that's clumsy. Like,
Everyone. It literally happens to every single zookeeper at some point.
Yeah.
I think every single
Yeah.
animal keeper. Stuff we do these things, sort of thing, like that thing's literally been there for all these years, and I've never hit it. Well, I've hit it now. Nothing.
I love it.
Also, well, 10 to 10, we're probably going to be shutting down about 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now
Oh my, it's 10 to 10.
Hours. Exactly. I just noticed the
Oh
time.
my goodness.
But the time has literally flown by.
It
So it
has.
doesn't feel like 2 hours at all. Obviously, we'll have to have it come on again at some point because
Yeah,
it'll
definitely.
be fantastic. And as the sort of, hopefully your business continues to get stronger and stronger and stuff, and hopefully you get your own sort of facility at some point
Yeah.
and stuff.
If anyone wants to donate a building, go for it. I bet each and every one of us say that, don't we? All of us say, if you've got a building, use it.
You can see some awesome things from people that have done that. I mean, the main person that comes to mind that done that and has done so well with is Sean Foggett of Crocodiles of the World.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, absolutely amazing what that guy's done.
Yeah.
So going from private crocodilian keeper to arguably, certainly probably in the UK, the best crocodilian facility going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And stuff. With other things there now as well. And it's like absolutely amazing site that he's got there.
Yeah.
And that's essentially how it all started. I mean, I never got to his first site, but it was all on an industrial site to begin with.
Yeah.
His first I've only ever been to the second site. Since he had the second site. But even that, he continues to expand it and expand it, and and now got clouded leopards.
I thought the newest one is clouded leopards because I read some comments of people saying, "Oh my goodness, are you moving away from crocodiles?" And he was like, "No, just got some extra things."
It's mainly some things that are outside where you can escape the heat for a bit because these buildings are really hot.
Yeah.
They're like heat. I think they're like constantly 35 degrees Celsius at all times.
Oh my goodness!
I
bet it's great in the winter.
Yeah.
Like reptiles.
Like, we needed some outdoor things because people were saying it's too hot.
Yeah.
We need to get outside for some things. So it's like, better add some things to it then. But you look at that, how he's gone from private keeper of stuff to opening up a small, what was I presume a small kind of industrial facility to he's now got his own zoo.
It's brilliant,
sort
isn't
of
it?
thing. And that's how it all started off. It's like that's amazing, quite an amazing trajectory. And I think that's something that, again, a lot of us kind of go, we would love to do that.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, last one is, anyone else got any kind of last questions for Naomi before we do head off in about 5 minutes' time?
It's gone quiet now. I might be
the scientific name for the dwarf white isopods.
Dwarficus whiticus.
Might be like the show. He asked me what the scientific name was, and I was like, at the top of my head, I was like, I can't remember at the top of my head. I can remember at the time I said, I just went, it's Dwarficus whiticus.
To be honest, that could pass as a scientific name, couldn't it? Like,
you say with confidence, someone will believe you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I've got it written down somewhere, but I can't remember at the top of my head. And just saying, thankful and amazing, so we cannot wait to see you during the upcoming event season.
Lovely.
Ooh.
Oh, it's nice to hear from MJ. Yeah, it's lovely.
Harry, you can use flake soil. It's just expensive to use for some beetles. But the larvae will eat flake soil. But you can do a mixture of. I do like organic compost along with rotted oak and beech leaves, or deciduous leaves and rotten whitewood mixed in. Which you can buy or go to a forest and collect it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love foraging. There's a field near us, and we go out to get the wood, the leaf litter, and everything like that. And I take my trolley out. The kids, they mostly love it, and I'm like, "Come on, let's go! We're getting this." But yeah, leaf litter is just—it's brilliant, isn't it? It's
It's so good for so many
easy to
things
get. Yeah,
and stuff. And it's, go to the forest. That's what I do. A lot of the time, sometimes I'll buy bags of stuff when I'm feeling a bit lazy, but it is expensive to buy it.
yeah, it is. Flake soil's very expensive, isn't it?
Flake soil is expensive. It's not exactly it's not a huge amount cheaper to make either. I've made flake soil, but it takes forever. It takes so long to make it. I need to make some more purely because I used flake soil purely for my large beetle larvae. So yeah, my Dynastes Hercules, Dynastes Sertanus, the Calphocosoma coccosus, which I bred myself.
Yeah.
And stuff, and my Dynastes Titus and stuff, because they're big larvae that need a lot of protein. So I use flake soil for that, but otherwise, they're the only ones I actually use flake soil for. But
yeah,
you can use it for some birds. You can use it for millipedes. It's good for millipedes as well.
I've bought it in every now and again for my workshop. So when I'm doing the insect habitat building, I don't get a lot of it, but I get it to show people like you can put these extra things in, and it's quite fun to see the animals use
different options
and the
stuff,
same. It's a very rare thing.
It depends. For me, it depends on the species, just because of it's not cheap.
No. No, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, like to buy it was it 3 liters roughly to buy is like £9, £10.
Yeah, and it's small, isn't it? It's a very small bag. If you got multiple things, like and like you say, for some beetles, I mean, they're so hardy. Mine are down there, and the similar thing you said, leaf litter, the mix of soils,
and get to the point where you can actually just put a whole bunch of just fresh leaf litter in, and they will just rot down anyway.
Yeah,
and stuff. Especially if you've got a big enough enclosure. That is absolutely, and that's what I'll do at work. I just chuck it every couple of weeks or whatever, chuck in a bin bag full of dead leaves in and stuff, and then it's gone.
Cooking with Phil. That sounds like a take on MasterChef, doesn't it? Cooking with Phil.
You just shared my video of me making flake soil, which is that video took a good, I don't know, 3 or 4 months to do, kind of thing. Because I filming, initially making it as my first ever batch. I've only ever made one batch, and then when I thought it was like, okay, this is now looking like flake soil. I think I've managed to do it. I managed to do it. And stuff, because it can go wrong so easily as well. Which again, is why it's so expensive. The problem is as well is that in the UK it's expensive. I was going to Japanese breeders, and it's so cheap over there. It just makes you jealous.
Yeah,
they get it in markets and stuff. They're like, the most they're like, cheapest flake soil they can get in Japan, because they've got various grades of flake soil in Japan. The cheapest one, which is much higher quality than what you'll get in the UK, it works out to be about £2 for something like 70 litres of it.
Oh my goodness me!
There's massive bags of it in their supermarkets for it, because they'll have a whole aisle just for beetle breed and stuff.
Oh my goodness!
Over there that
So it is quite prevalent, isn't it? I remember. It was only recently I was watching a video about the beetle rearing out in Japan, and it was brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, the same with with kimchi, which I don't do kimchi because I don't have any stag beetles, but kimchi's another one. It's just like, again, so many strains of it and stuff, and again, it can be really, really expensive.
Yeah.
So for kimchi for stag beetles, you're talking maybe you've got to make it yourself, or if you do buy it, you're talking at least a tenner for a jar that sort of size.
Oh my goodness.
Which will last one grub maybe a month.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, if you're lucky, maybe.
Very expensive.
Expensive stuff. I mean, when you get into those fields. But anyway, guys, it's now 10 o'clock, so
it's flown
down because but no, massive thank you for coming on. I mean, like I say, we'll have to have you on again, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been lovely. Thank you very much.
And so cheers everyone in chat for joining. Well, hey, Somerset Spiders. So I'll be back. Next video is out on Wednesday, which is mystery box and mystery bag opening stuff from Micro Exotics and Bugnut stuff. There's all sorts of other videos coming out. There's going to be a scorpion mating video coming out at some point as well, because I managed to film that the other night. So a little heads up there of some scorpion action going on. And all being well, next week, all being well, I should have Ryan of Antscapes joining me on the live. All being well, so that will be something to look forward to as well. But yeah, cheers for joining everyone, and I'll say good night.
Bye bye.